Hi, this is Chippy from Ultrabooknews, and in this video I want to show you 4 Ultrabooks and just quickly go over the 4 Ultrabooks and let you know the major differences between the 4. And we've got here the Dell XPS 13, the Lenovo U300S, Samsung Series 5 13-inch, and the Toshiba Z830 with a patterned cover. So first of all, the Dell XPS 13, and I've had this for a little while under testing, and it's a beautiful looking device. It seems to be very well built, very sturdy and strong, quite minimalistic in the amount of ports that you've got, especially in terms of display outputs. You've only got the mini display port there, 2 USB ports and no SD card port. Opening it up, there's a magnetic catch on the device. You've got a glossy screen, 13-inch, 1366 by 768, a pretty standard specification for the screen. The keyboard's very nice. It's got a long travel compared to some of the other Ultrabooks that I've tested, and feels pretty good. Touchpad also seems to be working out pretty well. Couple of things to note here though. Heat under load seems to be generating a lot of heat, this one, and the heat radiates through the back of the keyboard there, so I actually found it under load to be a little bit uncomfortable in this area, and certainly very warm as the airflow came out of there. And of course the glossy screen, that's really up to you whether you want glossy or matte, but that is something you'll have to consider. Generally though, pretty nice device, $999 at Dell.com at the moment, and certainly a very popular Ultrabook in terms of the amount of media coverage it's getting and the amount of sort of feedback from customers that I'm seeing that are very happy with their purchase. So that's the Dell XPS 13. Next up, we've got the Lenovo U300S Ultrabook, which is, in my opinion, actually the best looking Ultrabook out there. It's just a very chic design, very stylish and symmetric. The colours and materials, I think, are very high quality. That's obviously personal opinion. It's not the lightest of Ultrabooks. It's nearly 1.5 kilos, so in comparison with something like the Toshiba, it's a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier. It's also a little bit bigger in terms of surface area than the Dell. The Dell has a very nice thin bezel. This one's not such a thin bezel device, but it's a really clean, tidy design. Glossy screen on that again, so 1366 by 768. You'll have to think about your options, whether you want glossy or matte. Matte generally more useful for those that are on the go. Glossy screens for those that stay at home and watch videos, perhaps a little bit more punchy in terms of the colour that you get out of a glossy screen, and certainly this is no bad screen. Slightly wider viewing angles, I think, than the XPS 13. In terms of the keyboard, couple of things to note. Number one, the key travel isn't as big as the XPS 13, but there's a definite better feel to the press of the key. The give, the resistance is much more pronounced than it is on the XPS 13, and in fact, of the 4 here, this is probably the best of the 4 keyboards. Single unit touchpad there. Let's have a quick look at the ports. A little bit more than the XPS 13. You've got a direct full-size HDMI port there, USB 3 here, USB there. Actually, there's still no SD card slot on this as well, and that might be a problem for those creating, photographers and videographers as well. That's the Lenovo U300S. So this is the Toshiba Z830 with actually an Intel design print on the back, which you actually can't buy. This is a long-term loan device from Intel. This has a slightly bigger surface area than all the other Ultrabooks, but it's thinner and it's lighter, 1.16 kilograms, I believe. It really is noticeably lighter than the other devices. It does have a little trade-off in terms of its ruggedness, I believe. The screen is a little bit flimsy, and that might be a problem for people working on a shared desk, for example, where movement of the desk can actually shake the screen and be a little bit annoying. But you've got some other features on the Z830 here that might be interesting. First of all, to note is the matte screen, 1366 by 768, again 13.3, but this is a matte finish. Keyboard is, of the 4 devices we've got here, probably the worst of the 4. The actual travel and the responsiveness of the keys is not as good as the others. It's still usable, and I think better than some of the other Ultrabooks. For example, I think this is better than the Asus UX or ZenBook range. Yeah, if you're a hardcore typist, maybe the Lenovo would be a better choice. Mousepad has separate mouse buttons. There's a fingerprint reader on this as well, and you can switch the mousepad off directly with this button here. Looking around the device, there's also some differences here. This is the guy with the ports. You've got 2 audio ports here, headphone and microphone in. Full SD XC card port there, and then across the back, this is the key feature of the Z830, full VGA, DC in, full HDMI, 2 USB 2s, one of them with sleep and charge, full gigabit Ethernet port as well, and on this side a USB 3 port. So really having the best of mainstream ports on an Ultrabook here. So the Z830 is available also in Core i3 version, so this goes down a little bit cheaper than the other 2. 128 gig SSD inside as well. So that's the Toshiba Z830. Here's the Samsung Series 5. This is in a slightly different segment to the others, although it still looks like an Ultrabook and feels very much like an Ultrabook. Stylish, thin, well built, but this has got slightly lower quality components, build components, I think, materials than the other devices. Having said that, it still feels pretty good. Let's look inside the device. You've got a matte screen here, 13.3 inch and 1366 by 768. You've got a very nice keyboard. I think it doesn't have the travel of the XPS 13, but it has the feedback. And it's very responsive. I like the keyboard. It's probably up there with the Dell XPS 13. Not quite as good as the Lenovo, but better than the Toshiba Z830 and the ZenBooks. No backlight on the screen. Touchpad works fine. Separate mouse buttons on the touchpad there. Looking around the device, the ports, though, you get a full port set, full HDMI, a VGA port here that you need to carry the adapter with. That's the only thing that comes with the device, the cable adapter. USB 3 and a gigabit Ethernet port as well. On the other side, 2 more USB 2s and an SD card, full SD card slot as well. So a nice selection of ports there. The other thing about this is that this has a 500 gig hard drive in it with 16 gig excuse me, SSD cache, which I have to say Samsung have done a good job on with the Express Cache software that comes with it. So not only is the SSD used to cache, for example, hibernation files, but Express Cache moves programs that you often use into SSD to speed up, for example, the startup of your favorite video player, which can really improve the responsiveness of the device. The price of the Series 5 is pretty good. Like it's undercutting the others by maybe $100. In Europe, it is one of the cheapest Ultrabooks available, and I think actually works out to be very, very good value. It's an all-rounder. There's no showstoppers here. So this really is the value device. This is the Samsung Series 5 13-inch. So that's a really quick overview of the 4 Ultrabooks. The Lenovo U300S, I think, is the boardroom Ultrabook. It's a very stylish device, but watch out for the ports on it if you need SD card slots. The U300S is not for you. Seems to be pretty powerful in terms of the way it uses turbo boost, so a good choice for anyone that wants to use this as a desktop maybe. The Dell XPS 13, I think, is the stylish consumer choice. It does look great. It has a good keyboard and very stylish in terms of its size and its thin bezel. So this, I would say, is the real sort of style consumer choice here. In terms of people that want connectivity, this is the #1 here. This is the connectivity workhorse, and it really is, although we might actually call it, in comparison with the others, a little bit messy in terms of the way it's laid out and its ports and its buttons, but it has everything you need and it works very, very well. It's really possibly the workhorse of the 3. This is the four. Sorry, this is the entry-level Ultrabook that I would recommend. It's some pricing that's coming down now into the sort of Well, in Europe we're seeing this down at I think 700 euros now, which is significantly less than the other devices here. 500 gig drive gives you storage as well. So I'm actually recommending this one for students, or for really anyone that's kind of upgrading their laptop and desktop at the same time. This can be a desktop, but it's still ultra portable, ultra stylish, and with that express cache SSD, really quite responsive as well. So I hope that's useful for you, but what I want to offer is the chance for you to drop comments in the video. I'm going to pay close attention to your comments. If you've got questions about any of these 4 devices, Ultrabooks in general, or any of the other Ultrabooks that are on the market, let me know and I'll respond as soon as I can in the comments below. Don't forget to like the YouTube video, and thanks for watching. See you on ultrabooknews.com soon.